Legal aspects of business. Today we are going to discuss about performance of contract. We are going to learn what is the performance of contract and what are the various types of performances which we have. Right. A contract places a legal obligation upon the contracting parties to perform their mutual promises, and it carries on until the discharge or termination of contract. The most natural and usual mode of discharging a contract is to perform it. A person who performs a contract in accordance with its term is discharged from any further obligations. As a rule, such performance entitles him to receive the other party's performance. Exact and complete performance by both the parties puts an end to the contract. In expecting exact performance, the court means that performance must match contractual obligations. In requiring a contract to be complete, the law is merely saying that any work undertaken must be carried out to the end of the obligations. A contract should be performed at the time specified and at the place agreed upon. When this has been accomplished, the parties are discharged automatically and the contract is discharged eventually. There are, however, many other ways in which a discharge may be brought about. For example, it may result from an excuse non performance. In certain cases, attempted performance may also operate as a substitute for actual performance and can result in complete discharge of the contract. Now, what is a performance of contract? Performance of contract means that both the parties, that is, promisor and the promisee, have fulfilled their representative obligations which the contract placed upon them. For instance, A visits a stationery shop to buy a calculator. The shopkeeper delivers the calculator and A pays the price. The contract is said to have been discharged by mutual performance. According to Section 27 of Indian Contract Act, the parties to a contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises unless such performance is dispensed with or excused under the provision of this act or any other law. Promises bind the representatives of the promisor in case of death of the latter before performance, unless the contrary intention appears in the contract. We have two types of performance: actual performance and attempted performance. Actual performance, when the promisor to a contract has fulfilled his obligation in accordance with the terms of the contract, the promise is said to have been actually performed. Actual performance gives a discharge to the contract and the liability of the promisor ceases to exist. For example, A agrees to deliver 10 bags of cement at B's factory and B promises to pay the price on delivery. A delivers the cement on the due date and B makes the payment. This is actual performance. Actual performance can further be subdivided into substantial performance and partial performance. Substantial performance is where the work agreed upon is almost finished. The court then orders that the money must be paid, but deducts the amount needed to be correct minor existing defect. Partial performance is where one of the parties has performed the contract but not completely and the other side has shown willingness to accept the part performed. Then it is called as partial performance. Next comes the attempted performance. When the performance has become due, it is sometimes sufficient if the promisor offers to perform his obligation under the contract. This offer is known as attempted performance or more commonly as tender. Tender is an offer of performance which of course complies with the terms of the contract. If goods are tendered by the seller but refused by the buyer, the seller is discharged from the further liability, given that the goods are in accordance with the contract as to quantity and quality, and he may sue the buyer for breach of contract if he so desires. In this regard, Section 38 of Indian Contract Act says that where a promisor has made an offer of performance to the promisee and the offer has not been accepted, the promisor is not responsible for non-performance, nor does he thereby lose his right under the contract. Elements of tender. Tender must be unconditional. It must be made to the promisee, must be made at a proper time and place. If there are more than one promisee, it may be made to one of them. If the contract is for delivery of goods, the promisee must be given an opportunity to ascertain that the goods are according to the contract. Next comes the performance by joint promisors. Rules relating to devolution. Devolution means in the absence of the actual promisor, what will be the liability of the rest of the that is the joint promisors. Devolution of joint we have devolution of joint liabilities and devolution of joint rights. First comes devolution of joint liability. According to section 42. Jointly liable. When two or more persons have made a joint promise, then unless a contrary intention appears from the contract, all such persons during their joint lives must fulfill the promise. After the death of any of them, these representatives jointly with the survivor or survivors must fulfill the promise. After the death of the last survivor, the representatives of all jointly must fulfill the promise. Under English law, the legal representatives of the deceased promisor cannot be made liable either alone or jointly with the survivors. The liability devolves upon the survivors only. The Indian law, however, makes the legal representatives of the deceased promisor liable along with the survivor or survivors as the case may be. Now we will discuss about the devolution of joint rights, which is according to section 45. When a person has made a promise to two or more persons jointly, then unless a contrary intention appears from the contract, the right to claim performance rests as between him and them with all the joint promises during their joint lives. After the death of any one of them, it rests with the representatives of such deceased persons jointly with the survivors. After the death of the surviving promise, it rests with the representatives of all jointly. Now comes the appropriation of payments. The appropriation is covered under section 59 to 61 of the Contract Act. This embodies the general rules as to appropriation of payments in case where debtor owes several distinct debts to one person and voluntarily makes payments to him. It is observed that when money is paid, it is applied according to the express will of the payer and not the receiver. If the party to whom the money is offered does not agree to apply it according to the express will of the party offering it, he must refuse it and stand upon the rights which the law gives him. Now, the legal rules starting from section 59. When payment of debt to be discharged is indicated as per section 59, where a debtor owing several distinct debts to one person makes a payment to him either with express intimation or under circumstances implying that the payment is to be applied to the discharge of some particular debt, the payment, if accepted, must be applied accordingly. where the payment of debt to be discharged is not indicated, where the debtor has omitted to intimate that there are no other circumstances indicating to which debt the payment to be applied. The creditor may apply it to at his discretion to any lawful debt actually due and payable to him by the debtor, whether its recovery is or is not barred by the law in force for the time being as to limitation of suits, where the debtor does not intimate and the creditor fails to appropriate under section 61, where neither party makes any appropriation, the payment shall be applied in discharge of the debts in order of time, whether they are or not barred by the law in force for the time being as to the limitation of suits. If the debts are of equal standing, the payments shall be applied in discharge of each proportionately. Next comes who can perform the contract. The promisor. In case of a contract involving personal skill, taste or diligence of the promisor, example, a contract to paint a picture, a contract of agency or service, the promisor must himself fulfill the contract. It is as per section 40. Second person who can perform is agent. When the contract is of impersonal nature, that is, personal consideration is not the foundation of a contract, a competent person can be employed to perform it. This is as per section 40, subsection 2. Legal representative. In case of death of the promisor before performance, the liability of performance falls on his legal representative unless a contrary intention appears from the contract. This is as per the section 37. Next comes the third person. If a promisee accepts performance of the promise from a third person, he cannot afterwards enforce it against the promisor. This is as per section 41. Joint promisors. When two or more persons make a joint promise to the promisee, all joint promisors are bound to perform the contract. Now, who can demand performance is the legal representatives or the agents, promisee himself, next the legal heir. Time and place of performance. Time and place of performance is a very essential factor for the performance of the contract. This has been discussed under section 46 to 50. When no application to be made and no time has been specified, imagine a contract where the promisor has to perform his promise without any application by the promisor and there is no time specified for the performance of the same. In such a scenario, the promisor should perform the contract at a reasonable time. This reasonable can have different interpretation. The section specifies that it is the circumstance of every case will determine the definition of reasonable for the parties involved. It is under section 46. Next, when there is no application to be made but time is specified, if there is a contract where the promisee is not required to make an application but the promisor needs to perform the contract only on a Sunday, then the promisor should perform the promise during regular business hours unless the time is specified in the contract too. Next comes the application by the promisee required under section 48. Let's say that there is a contract where the promisee necessarily needs to make an application for the promise of a contract. Then the promisee needs to ensure that the application is made at a proper place and time. In this case, the phrase proper place and time can have different meanings in different cases. Next comes section 49, wherein no application to be made but the place of performance is not specified. Imagine a contract where the promisee is not required to make an application for the performance of contract. Also, the place of performance is unspecified. In such a scenario, it is the responsibility of the promisor to apply the promisee, asking him to appoint a reasonable place for the performance of promise. Now, this is all about the performance of contract. Thank you.